It started with a receipt. Not a lipstick-smudged collar, not a drunken voicemail at 2 a.m., not even a suspicious glance during dinner. No, my downfall came courtesy of a receipt for 2 lattes, a bagel, and an almond croissant because the man she was just friends with was gluten-free, and I knew she hated almond anything. It was sitting on the kitchen counter like a ticking bomb. She probably thought nothing of it. Folded once, barely crumpled, but timed perfectly, timestamped 9:16 a.m. last Saturday. She told me she was at a solo yoga retreat. So either she was stretching her definition of solo, or downward dog had taken on a whole new meaning. "Hey, babe," she said, strolling into the kitchen like she hadn't just cracked open the gates of hell. "You want eggs?" "Sure," I replied. "Calm as Sunday brunch. Scrambled lies or poached betrayal?" "Okay." I didn't say that out loud. I nodded, gave her a small smile, and tucked the receipt into my back pocket like a magician palming his final card. Not because I was afraid of confrontation, but because I needed more than a spark. I wanted the whole fire. You don't put out a forest fire with a bottle of Evian. You let it burn. And burn it did. Over the next 2 weeks, I became the kind of man I used to pity. The quiet one. The one who says nothing's wrong while memorizing the passwords, backing up the photos, noting the new cologne in her car that didn't smell like anything we ever owned. She laughed more when she texted now. Never at anything I said. She used to send me playlists. Now I heard music bleeding from her earbuds that I didn't recognize, moody indie bands that made her feel 17 again, apparently. There's something about watching someone try to turn back into the version of themselves that existed before you, that lets you know they're planning a future that doesn't include you. One night, as she was brushing her teeth, I tested her. "Remember that bed and breakfast we stayed at in Vermont?" I asked, leaning on the doorway. She paused, toothbrush in her mouth, eyes narrowed. "The one with the raccoons?" "No, the one with the clawfoot tub and the blueberry scones." She blinked. "Oh, that one. That one." Like it was a footnote. Like 5 years ago didn't matter. That night I opened a spreadsheet. 2 columns, what I know and what I need to prove. The receipt went at the top. I added the text logs I'd quietly forwarded to myself when she left her laptop open. The playlist she made titled "Running Again." The saved contact listed under Mel, who was definitely not Melissa from work, unless Melissa had suddenly taken up texting her heart emojis at 1 a.m. I wasn't collecting evidence because I needed her to confess. I was collecting it because revenge tastes better when it's slow-cooked. And I wasn't ready to serve it yet. But I had just started marinating it. The thing about betrayal is it doesn't knock. You just find it on your couch, sipping your coffee, wearing your sweatshirt. But me? I didn't flip a table. I called Rick. Rick used to be a cop. Now he's a private investigator with a receding hairline, a drinking habit he pretends is hydration, and a moral code best described as flexible if the check clears. He also happens to be my cousin's ex-husband, which meant I got the family discount. And by discount, I mean he owed me for not telling anyone what really happened with the Christmas tree fire of 2017. I didn't start with pleasantries. "I need to know who she's sleeping with." He didn't flinch. Just took a slow sip of whatever was in his Yeti mug. "Name? Claire. My wife." A beat. Then, "Oh. Not what? Not are you sure?" Just "oh." That told me everything I needed to know about how believable this all was. She got sloppy, I said. "Receipts, emojis, new perfume. But I want more than suspicion. I want certainty." Rick nodded. "You want the kind of certainty you can print out and hand to a lawyer." "No," I said, dead calm. "I want the kind you can gift wrap and drop on her birthday." He smirked at that. "You always were theatrical." "Not theatrical," I said. "Patient." Rick took the job. 3 days later, he sent me a folder labeled Cliff Notes for Divorce. Inside? Photo. Claire, hair down, wearing the leather jacket I bought her, holding hands with a man I'd never seen before. She was smiling that old smile, the one she used to wear when I came home from work and she'd already made dinner. Timeline, 6 weeks. Dates, locations, even a shared Spotify playlist they'd both added to. His taste was awful, by the way. Like a 12-year-old DJing a breakup party. Notes, he drives a Tesla. Probably leased. Yoga instructor. Name, Jordan Hart. Likes to talk about energy alignment. He calls her C. C. She let him rename her. That was the moment I knew it wasn't just a fling. It was a rewrite. She was rewriting herself, her story, and I was being edited out like some side character in a romance novel she outgrew. I didn't cry. I didn't drink. I bought a burner phone. Because if Claire wanted to play house with a kale smoothie philosopher and Elise Tesla, that was fine by me. But I was done being the footnote. I was writing the final chapter now. And Jordan? He was going to be in it. He just didn't know it yet. The irony? I hated yoga. Thought it was just stretching with better branding. But suddenly I found myself wearing moisture-wicking pants and trying to fake inner peace while a man who slept with my wife adjusted my breath posture. Yeah, that happened. Let me explain. Rick had confirmed the guy's name, Jordan Hart, 34, owner of a boutique yoga studio called Corsage on 9th and Eldon. Website full of soft lighting and quotes about mindfulness, with testimonials from women named Skylar and Tiffany who described him as life-changing. Claire never once complimented my driving, but apparently this guy realigned her soul. So I created a new identity, Nate Easton, recently divorced, looking for healing. Bought a 5-class intro pass, gave myself a slight limp to seem extra wounded, and walked into Jordan's temple of serenity ready to play dumb. He didn't recognize me. Why would he? I was just another aging guy trying to touch his toes and make peace with his demons. "Welcome, brother," he said, clasping my shoulder like we were about to scale a mountain together. "First time?" I nodded. Needed to find balance. My wife left me. A flicker. Maybe recognition. Maybe guilt. But it passed quick. He smiled. "This place saved me. You'll love it here. No judgment. No pressure. Just release. Release." "Yeah, Jordan. I bet." I pretended to struggle through class. Took the back corner. Let him correct my posture. Asked questions after, like, "How'd you get into this?" And, "What's it like helping people every day?" Played the curious student. Told him I was looking for something real. He opened up. Turns out, Jordan wasn't a bad guy, just one of those charisma addicts who confuses attention with connection. He talked about how hard it was to keep relationships when you grow faster than other people. He said some people are just drawn to him because of the energy he gives off. I said, "Yeah, I know someone like that." He laughed. "She sounds intense." "She is," I said. He didn't ask for a name. I didn't give one. Over the next few sessions, we got friendly. I helped move mats, made a few jokes, even took him for coffee once. Man to man. Two guys unpacking pain in biodegradable cups. "You're a good dude," he said one morning. "You're gonna find someone better." I nodded slowly. That's the plan. By the 5th session, he let something slip. "There's this woman client turned friend. Complicated. She's got a husband, but the connection is unreal." I sipped my coffee. "Sounds risky." He smiled. "Some things are worth it." I leaned back in my chair. "Yeah, until her husband finds out." He laughed nervously. I didn't confront her that night. Or the next. That's not how you handle snakes. You don't stomp around the grass. You set the field on fire and watch who slithers out. The night I laid the trap, it was raining. Lightly, just enough to make the streets shine and the gutters sing. Claire came home humming something off-key, shopping bag in hand, and cheeks flushed like she jogged back from a moment she wasn't supposed to have. She kissed my cheek. I flinched without moving. Funny thing about betrayal, it makes the skin aware in ways it never was before. That kiss could have been a knife. "Everything okay?" she asked, hanging her coat like nothing was burning. I smiled gently. "Yeah, I've been thinking a lot lately." She raised an eyebrow. "About what?" "Us." I watched her face carefully. Her pupils tightened just slightly, like a poker player watching for a tell. "Oh," she said. "Yeah, I know we've both been busy. I figured maybe we needed something different. A little reset." Claire sipped from the water bottle I now knew wasn't always filled with water. "Like a trip. Closer to home." I signed us up for a class together. Her face twitched barely, but I saw it. "What kind of class?" "Yoga," I said. "Found a place downtown. Corsage." I'll say this for her. She didn't flinch hard. Just a slight shift in her stance, a subtle pause like her brain hit a speed bump mid-thought. "Oh," she said casually. "I've heard of it." I nodded. "First session's Saturday." "That's soon." They had an opening. "The guy who runs it, Jordan, seems solid." "You know him?" Pause. "Think I met him at a wellness expo once." Liar. She was so used to me trusting her that she didn't even bother dressing the lie up nicely. Just tossed it out like an old sock and hoped I wouldn't notice the hole. I didn't push. That wasn't the goal. The goal was tension. Slow. I wanted to see how she'd spin when the room got smaller. Over the next few days, I planted breadcrumbs. Little things. I left Rick's printed photo of Jordan face down on my desk, the edge of it just visible. I started doing stretches in the living room while watching beginner yoga on YouTube loud enough for her to hear from the kitchen. I left a sticky note on the fridge that read, "Jordan, ask about breathwork tools." She never asked, never mentioned it, but she did get quieter. And that's when I knew the guilt had started to drip. Not flood. Drip. People don't drown all at once. They inhale little lies until their lungs fill with them. Saturday came. I dressed in new athletic wear, tags still on, while she wore the same tank top I'd seen in one of Rick's surveillance photos. The irony didn't sting. It entertained me. I almost laughed in the mirror while tying my shoelaces. We drove in silence. She played soft music. The kind of playlist someone builds when they want to distract themselves without actually listening to anything. When we got there, Jordan was behind the front desk. The second his eyes found Claire, he froze. Only for a second. But I saw it. She didn't look at him. Not once. "Hey," I said warmly. "Jordan, right?" He blinked like someone snapped him out of a dream. "Yeah, Nate, right?" "Right," I said, enjoying the name. "This is my wife, Claire. Thought it'd be nice to take a class together." Jordan smiled, but it looked like it hurt. "Welcome," he said to her, voice flat as a yoga mat. She gave a tight smile. "Thanks." We entered the room. Dim lights. Calming music. 20 mats spaced like polite neighbors. We set up in the middle, directly across from Jordan's instructor space. He avoided her gaze the whole session. I followed along perfectly, stretches, breathing, posture, the works. Not because I was a natural, but because I'd spent 3 weeks prepping just for this day. Claire looked off, stiff, uncomfortable. She made tiny mistakes, missed transitions, and when Jordan adjusted someone else's form across the room, she stared at the floor like it was betraying her too. After class, I made sure we lingered. "Great stuff, man," I told Jordan, clapping his shoulder. "Really clears the head." He nodded. "Glad you enjoyed it." I leaned in slightly. "Hey, mind if I ask a personal question?" I said. His body tensed. "Sure. You ever find it hard teaching attractive students?" He blinked. "What?" "Just wondering. Like, being around all this energy, there's gotta be lines, right? Boundaries." He opened his mouth, then shut it. Claire muttered, "Let's go," grabbing my arm like a leash. Jordan mumbled, "Take care," and turned away. Outside, the air felt colder than before. I made sure to stay quiet as we walked to the car. Claire was silent the whole ride home. I let it hang, let the silence grow teeth. And then, just as we pulled into the driveway, she spoke. "You don't actually like yoga." There it was. Not a confession. Not yet. But a crack. I kept my tone even. "No. But I do like the truth." She stared at me. Eyes sharp, but tired. "Did you know?" she asked. I looked at her. I suspected. Pause. Her throat moved. "How long?" "Long enough to give you a chance to stop." She turned away, looking out the window like she was trying to find a version of herself she could still justify. "I didn't plan it," she said finally. I nodded. "I know. But you knew before class?" "I knew before the receipt." That hit. She winced, a small collapse behind the eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. And I believed her for about 3 seconds. Because real sorry doesn't hide. Real sorry doesn't fold itself into excuses. She didn't ask what came next. Didn't beg. Didn't plead. She knew the game had changed. But what she didn't know, that I hadn't come here for apologies. I'd come to take notes. Because the real revenge? That was still loading. There's a moment in every magic trick where the audience realizes they've been watching the wrong hand. Claire still hadn't figured that out. She thought the confrontation was the climax. Thought her 3-word apology, "I'm so sorry," was enough to reset the scoreboard. Thought that because I didn't scream, or pack a bag, or smash something poetic, I had forgiven her. She mistook my stillness for surrender. And that was her fatal misread. See, I wasn't yelling because I'd already won something better than an argument. I had something more surgical. Something permanent. I had the truth, and I had it on video. Let's rewind. While Claire was busy unburdening herself in parking lots and candlelit studios, I was setting up a network of backups. Cloud drives. Password vaults. Timed email triggers. You learn a lot when your best friend is a tech consultant and your wife's hobby is lying. I wasn't collecting evidence for court. No. This wasn't about divorce leverage or alimony battles. This was about legacy. I wanted the lie to die, and I wanted everyone who helped keep it alive to feel the echo. So I did what every digital age man with too much time and just enough heartbreak does. I built a folder. Titled it Things she forgot I noticed. It contained screenshots of Claire and Jordan's text exchanges. Rick had cloned her phone 3 weeks ago. A video from the Corsage security camera, the two of them locking lips in the storage room, timestamped and in high definition. An email thread between Claire and her sister, titled, "If Nate ever finds out." She sent it from our shared laptop. Rookie mistake. But the crown jewel? The journal entry. Yes, she kept one. And no, she didn't protect it. It was buried deep in her Dropbox folder titled Wellness Projects, right between a recipe for kale soup and a half-finished novel she once claimed was about healing through fiction. Here's a line from the entry dated 2 months ago. He still tries. He doesn't know how far gone I am. Sometimes I kiss him just to make the guilt feel heavier. Is that cruel? I didn't answer her question. I just made a PDF. Now, here's where most guys go wrong. They think revenge needs to be loud. Nope. Revenge, real revenge, is quiet. Surgical. You don't burn the house down. You take out the foundation while they're still inside, repainting the living room. Which brings us to the upload. I created a hidden web page on a domain I already owned. Something generic. Harmless. Something like wellnessisachoice.net. Then I uploaded the folder there. Password protected. Trackable. Every time someone opened it, I'd know. IP, timestamp, even device type. Then I wrote 4 anonymous emails. Just 4. To her boss. To her sister. To Jordan's studio partner. To myself, so Claire wouldn't suspect a thing when I forwarded it from my own account and said, "What the hell is this?" Each email said the same thing. You might want to know who you're trusting. Password, 12-13-inch. Our wedding anniversary. I figured it was fitting. Then I waited. That was the worst part, waiting. Not because I was nervous. I just wanted the illusion to die already. I wanted to stop playing dumb in my own house. But revenge? It's like slow-cooked meat. Rush it, and it's just tough and bitter. So I waited. And then it started. Sunday night, 10:42 p.m. First ping, Claire's sister. IP address from Boston. iPhone. Safari browser. Stayed on the page for 17 minutes. Clicked every file. Twice. Monday morning, 8:17 a.m. Second ping, Jordan's business partner. Opened on a desktop in their studio. Stayed logged in for half an hour. Monday afternoon, 12:02 p.m. Third ping, her boss. I recognized the company VPN in the log. That one hit different. And at 5:21 p.m., like clockwork, Claire barged through the door. Face pale, hands shaking, and hair still damp like she'd run through a thunderstorm. You sent it, she said. I didn't look up from the couch. Sent what? Don't play dumb. Her voice cracked. You uploaded everything. I don't know what you're talking about, I said, flipping the page of a book I wasn't reading. Maybe someone hacked you. She stared at me, eyes wild. My boss put me on leave. I'm sorry to hear that. My sister isn't speaking to me. She always said you were too competitive. And Jordan, her voice broke off. His studio pulled all his private classes. I nodded slowly, like a teacher grading an essay written in red ink. Actions, I said. They have consequences. You ruined my life. No, Claire, I said calmly. You ruined your life. I just built a mirror and let you look into it. She sank into the nearest chair, like her bones gave out. I loved you, she whispered. I closed the book and met her eyes for the first time that day. You loved how I made you feel safe. Until that got boring. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You never do, I said. That's the thing about people like you. You think your choices live in the dark, but they always find the light. She didn't respond. She just sat there, broken in a way I didn't enjoy, but didn't pity either. I stood, walked past her, and paused at the doorway. Oh, by the way, I added. The house. It's already in my name. I had you removed from the title last month. Legal loophole. Fun story. She looked up sharply. And the dog. I continued. He's coming with me. He always liked truth more than yoga anyway. Then I walked out. No slamming doors. No dramatic music. Just silence. And the faint sound of a world crumbling behind me. It's funny what happens after revenge lands. Not explosions. Not applause. Just silence. Not the awkward kind either. Not that tension-filled air where everyone's waiting for the next move. No, this was cleaner. Crisper. Like the moment after a heavy snowfall, when the whole world seems to stop breathing just to listen. I moved into a furnished rental 2 towns over. Quiet street. No lawn to mow. Neighbors who waved but didn't ask questions. A place where no one knew what I'd been through or who I'd been before. It was perfect. The first morning alone, I woke up before the sun. Out of habit, I reached across the bed. No one was there. No surprise. Still, the motion lingered like a memory, trying to pretend it still belonged. I got up, made coffee in silence, and took the mug out to the small back porch. No dogs barking. No inbox full of things I didn't want to deal with. No Claire. Just steam rising into cold morning air and the still realization that I felt. Nothing. Not joy. Not pain. Just a deep, resonant nothing. And weirdly, it felt like peace. The messages started rolling in by noon. First, Rick. Heard about the fallout. You want me to pull the page down? I replied, no. Let it rot. Then, Claire's sister. I owe you an apology. No reply to that one. Some doors stay closed no matter how many times someone knocks. Then came Jordan. He emailed me. No subject line. Just, I didn't know she was still married. I'm not that guy. I almost laughed. Not that guy? You kissed her in a storage room while her wedding ring was still warm from the house we shared. But sure, you're not that guy. I didn't respond to him either. Not because I was angry. Because I was done. The fire had burned through. There was nothing left to consume. No coals. No flickers. Just ash. And you don't talk to ash. You sweep it up, open the windows, and let the air move freely again. A week passed. Then another. Claire didn't message me. Not once. I guess we both understood that when the curtain falls, some actors stay on stage, and some walk off and never come back. She knew better than ask for closure. She'd already been given the full weight of truth. But that's not the end of the story. Because pain has a long tail. And mine had one more coil to unwind. It came on a Wednesday. I was grabbing groceries, quiet trip, headphones in, shopping list memorized. I turned the corner near the cereal aisle, and there she was. Claire. Hair shorter. No makeup. Wearing a plain sweater. No performance. She saw me before I saw her. Froze. I stopped walking. Took my earbuds out. We stood there in the same silence that once lived in our kitchen. Then she whispered, "Hi." I nodded. Claire. She looked older. Not physically. Just dimmed. Like someone had unplugged the spotlight she used to live under. I didn't think I'd see you here, she said. I shrugged. Life's small. She bit her lip. I guess it is. We stood there a few more seconds. Me holding a box of cereal I didn't really want. Her looking like she had something she needed to say but couldn't quite believe she didn't have the right anymore. You look good, she offered. I am. Pause. You seem different. I am. The words weren't sharp. Just true. She reached into her purse, pulled out a folded piece of paper, and held it out. I didn't take it. What is it? I asked. A letter. From me. I finally took it. Didn't open it. Just looked at her. She didn't ask for anything, not forgiveness, not a second chance. And honestly, I respected that. Maybe for the first time in a long time, Claire had nothing to sell. I'm sorry, she said again. Not like before. Not defensive. Not rehearsed. Real. And here's the weird part. I believed her. Didn't mean I was going to invite her back in. But it landed. I nodded once, tucked the letter under my arm, and said, "Take care of yourself." Then I turned and walked away. Never looked back. Back home, I poured a drink and sat on the porch again. Same mug. Same chair. New chapter. I unfolded the letter. It was handwritten. Ink slightly smudged. Dated 2 days before we crossed paths in the store. She'd written, "You were the safest place I ever had. And I outgrew you because I mistook safety for stagnation. That's on me. You didn't deserve the way I exited. You didn't deserve the lies. I just wanted to feel exciting again. And I forgot that you were the one who used to make life feel that way. You didn't fail me. I failed me. I'm sorry. It wasn't dramatic. No promises. No ask for reconciliation. Just accountability. And for the first time since all of this started, I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. I didn't cry. Didn't rage. Just closed the letter, set it on the table, and whispered, "Me too." Then I got up, walked inside, and tossed the letter into the drawer with the spare keys and old batteries. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is keep the proof and never need to use it. The knock came on a Thursday. Light. Hesitant. Like someone hoping I wasn't home. I opened the door to find Jordan standing there, hands in his pockets, eyes sunken like a man who hadn't slept well since the truth stopped hiding. He looked surprised to see me calm. "I need to talk to you," he said. I leaned against the doorframe. "Talk or confess?" He sighed. Look, I know I don't deserve your time, but I didn't know she was married. Not at first. And when I found out, you kept going. I finished for him. Because it felt good. Because it was easy. He nodded slowly. Yeah, we stood in silence. He glanced over his shoulder, like someone might come arrest him for this late honesty. You're not here for absolution, I said. So what is it you want? He hesitated. Closure, I guess. Or clarity. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Let him stand there in the cold with no pretense to keep him warm. Okay, I said. Here's your clarity. You didn't ruin my marriage. You just helped confirm it was already over. Claire lit the match. You were the wind. He swallowed hard. That's not nothing, though. No, I said. It's worse. Because you thought it didn't count. He looked at the ground. I nodded toward the street. Go do better. Somewhere else. He looked like he wanted to say something more, but he didn't. He turned and walked off, head low, like a man finally seeing the size of his own shadow. And that was the last I saw of him. I sold the house. Didn't even list it publicly. Quiet, clean, off-market sale to a retired dentist and his wife who wanted a fresh start. Fitting. The final paperwork came with a glass of whiskey and a quiet click of a pen. No big speech. No memory montage. Just me handing over a house that no longer held anything worth keeping. Claire didn't contest it. She didn't even show up at the lawyer's office. I think by then, even she knew she'd forfeited the right to stand in the same room as the man she'd once promised to grow old with. She sent one last text. I heard you sold it. I hope it brings someone peace. I stared at that text for a long time. Not because it hurt. Because it didn't. She hoped it would bring someone peace. It already had. A month later, I found myself cleaning out an old box of junk that had followed me through 3 different apartments and one doomed marriage. Tucked between a birthday card from my cousin and a faded concert ticket was a letter. Not from Claire. From me. Written to me. Dated 6 years ago. Apparently, I'd written it during our 3rd anniversary, some cheesy therapy exercise Claire insisted we do. Right where you see us in 5 years, she said. I opened it. I hope we're still laughing over pancakes and arguing over movie endings. I hope she still looks at me the way she did on the ferry to Mackinac, when the sun hit her just right and everything else disappeared. I hope we still say, I love you with our eyes and not just out of habit. Mostly, I hope I never forget that being chosen every day is a choice we both have to keep making. I read it twice. Then I folded it neatly and burned it in a glass bowl on the porch. Not out of bitterness. Out of reverence. Because that man, that hopeful version of me, deserved a proper goodbye. 1 year later, to the day, I sat at a small cafe in a different city, sipping better coffee than we ever made in that cursed kitchen. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. I let it ring out. 30 seconds later, a voicemail. I waited, then played it. Claire's voice. Soft. Hesitant. I know you won't answer. I don't even know why I called. I wanted to say that I finally understand. What it means to be left in silence. What it means to have no more second chances. You were right to go. And I hope someone finds you who never makes you feel small. Goodbye, Nate. Click. I saved the message. Not to listen to it again. Just to remind myself that sometimes, the cruelest revenge is the simplest one. Leaving. Without begging. Without yelling. Without looking back. She thought I'd always be there. She thought love meant staying no matter what. But what she never understood is that love isn't endurance. It's reciprocation. And once it stops being that, once it turns into performance and punishment, you don't have to stay just because you started there. So I didn't. And in the end, all that remained of her was a name I don't flinch at anymore.